Williamsonville was one of 4 small villages on the east shore of Green Bay. All of these villages were based around lumbering and logging, so they all had sawmills. With sawmills, of course, come sawdust and bark and all of this residue that just naturally accumulates in sawmill towns. And this was fine up until the winter of 1870, when there's no snow, which causes the swamps to be dry come spring. And then in May, they get 1 rain shower. In July, they get 1 rain shower. And that's it. That's the rain for the year. So their crops are shriveling, their lumber is drying out, their sawdust is becoming very flammable. And as we move into the fall of 1871, little brush fires are starting to pop up everywhere because logging practices were kind of careless at the time. A little spark could catch anything on fire because it is so dry. And on October 8th, we have a first-person account from Thomas Williamson. He's one of the founders. He and his brother Fred have to put out a fire that popped up in the village potato patch. So after that, Thomas goes over to his mother's house, and all of a sudden he says it gets quiet. The wind has completely stopped. And they hear a horrendous roar coming from the woods to the south of them. And as they look out, they can see that the fire is coming. The buildings are starting to catch on fire. People are trying to smother the fires with wet blankets that they've kept on hand. And ultimately they realize we just got to get out of here. And so everyone flees in panic and terror, and they think it's the apocalypse because their world is literally burning around them. And 35 people, so about half of the village's population, runs towards this open field where they will ultimately die. We know that 7 people jumped into one of the town wells. 2 of them died of smoke inhalation. And we know that 2 men actually ended up committing suicide before they could burn to death. And the next morning around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning is when the smoke cleared and Thomas is able to find survivors. He finds his mother, and they end up having to walk 6 miles to find the closest homestead that didn't burn down. One thing that I do like to note whenever I tell this story is that the fire did not jump the bay from Peshtigo to Door County. It was just that northeastern Wisconsin in general was prime for wildfires. And that was exacerbated by a high pressure system moving in from Virginia and the Carolinas, and a deepening low pressure system moving in over Minnesota that created this really steep pressure gradient over Wisconsin that gave rise to powerful tornado force winds. The fire whirlwind is where Tornado Memorial Park gets its name, because it was a tornado of fire.